Hi everybody, welcome to my channel Humblehus. Thank you for being here. We are making this cute beanie today. You don't have to add this border at the bottom if you don't want to. So if you want it to look more feminine, then add it, and if you don't, then just leave it as it is. Let me show you the materials that I will be using for this beanie. But before we get started, I just want to mention my nails. I know I got a manicure and look, it's just looking not good. So I hope it doesn't bother you too much when you're looking at the video, and I don't have anything to take the color off with. This is the main yarn that I will be using, which is the Bernat Bundle Up by Yarnspirations. It is a medium 4 weight. It's 100% polyester. The color is marshmallow. I will be using a 6mm hook, which is a size J. Then the second color is this one right here. And since I don't have the little paper around it anymore, this is the same one, just a different color. It is the Heartland by Lion Brand. It is also a medium 4 weight, 100% acrylic, machine washable and dryable. The things I always have on hand are a yarn needle, stitch markers, scissors, a measuring tape, and of course the hook that I'm going to be using. Don't mind this old table, I know it's had its fair use. We need to start with a magic ring, and there's different ways to start it, but this is one of the ways. So hold out your middle finger and your index finger, and that the end of the yarn is going to look down, so make sure it's down here. Leave some yarn. Then put your thumb over the yarn. Now you're going to yarn around your 2 fingers and you're going to cross that yarn, this loose end. Make sure it looks like this. Now take your hook, hold on to the yarn. You see I'm holding it over here and with my thumb. Now go under that first yarn and take this other end, pull it through and twist it at the same time. Now carefully hold on with your other index finger. Hold on to the whole thing. You can take out your fingers and then grab the yarn however it's comfortable. And now you're going to yarn over and pull through that loop. That is one chain. Yarn over and pull through that loop. Yarn over and pull through that loop. 3 chains. Now that you have these 3 chains and you have this magic ring, magic rings, oh my gosh, I felt like they were so hard when I first started. And you can look up other ways to start a magic ring if this was a little bit hard. Alright, so we don't want to pull on anything, just keep it loose. And we want to start with double crochet stitches into this ring. This chain of 3 does not count as a stitch, so we need 10 double crochet stitches into the ring. Let's start with the first one. You're going to yarn over, insert your hook into that ring, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, pull through those last 2 loops. This is where you need your stitch marker. You're going to add it onto that stitch. Alright, so that's your first double crochet. Let's continue. Yarn over, into the ring, into that ring, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops. There's 2 double crochets. yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops. Okay, so there's 3 double crochet stitches, and you want to continue until you have a total of 10 stitches all around. And as you see, I am doing the stitches over this loose end, which we will then close off. I now have my 10 double crochet stitches, and I am going to close the magic ring by pulling on this loose end. You have this little circle now, and you know what stitch you need to work into because you have your stitch marker. Insert your hook through both of those loops that you see there. I'm going to insert your hook in there, and I am going to run this loose end along so that I don't have to thread it in later. So yarn over, pull your yarn through, and now pull this yarn through that loop that is on your hook. That is called a slip stitch. Let's chain 1. So you yarn over and pull a loop through that loop that was on your hook. Then again, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. You have a total of 3 chains. I will remove my stitch marker now. Into the space where the stitch marker was, I will work an increase into it. An increase means that you're going to do 2 double crochet stitches into the same stitch. Whether it was a single crochet or a half double crochet or whatever stitch it is, when you have an increase, it just means 2 of the same stitch into that one spot. All right, so yarn over, insert your hook through those loops. I'm still holding this yarn because I'm still running it along so I don't have to thread it in. So yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops. And this is where I want to add my stitch marker because this is the first stitch. Remember, the chains do not count as a stitch. Okay, and now another double crochet into that same stitch. There's my increase. This whole round, which is round number 2, we will do increases into every stitch that you have. So we have 10 stitches from the previous row or the previous round. Means at the end of round 2, we will have 20 double crochet stitches. You go into that next stitch right here, through those 2 loops. Wait, I forgot to yarn over first. So yarn over first. There's my next increase. Here I am at the end of this round number 2. So look, I still have some of this loose end that I'm still running along. Now to close off this round, again, we need to insert our hook where the stitch marker is. So go ahead and do that. Go through those 2 loops. And then yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull that loop through the loop that was on your hook. That was your slip stitch. And I think I am just going to cut off this little end. There we go. All right, so let's chain 3 again. Now we can take off our stitch marker. So this step is the same for every size. And this is the crown of the head. So let me show you a photo here of my little one. This is what we're creating right now, that crown. So depending on your baby's head or whoever you're making this for, you want to know how big you have to make this crown. And I will show all of this to you on a sizing guide. Every head is different, so If you don't have their head circumference, it can get tricky. If you're going by age, it doesn't necessarily fit because my daughter never fit into her age group. So if you can get the head circumference, that is even better. Now for the crown, after each round, you need to measure the diameter of that circle. And once you have that size that you need, so that diameter that you need according to the sizing guide, that is when you stop and then we move on to the body of the beanie. I am going to continue just once you've reached your size, fast forward to the body of the beanie. All right, so now for round number 3, we are going to start with an increase into this first stitch. So go ahead and do that. Remember, it's the 2 double crochets into that same stitch. But after your first double crochet, put in your stitch marker. Now continue. There's my increase. Your next stitch will not be an increase. So just 1 double crochet into that stitch. Your next stitch will be an increase again. And then the next stitch will not be an increase. So just 1 double crochet. So the pattern for round number 3 is increase, 1 double crochet, increase, 1 double crochet, all the way around until you get to the stitch marker, and you should have 30 double crochet stitches at the end of this round. This was the end of round number 3, and we close again with a slip stitch into that stitch with the stitch marker. Insert your hook, chain 3. Don't forget to measure depending on who you're making this for. According to the sizing guide, you have to consider if you go one more round, is it going to be too big? Am I going to be on the next size? If you were making this for a very small preemie, this will probably be around the size that you're looking for. And I did want to give you the example. For example, my daughter, she just turned 3, but her head circumference is 21 inches. So yeah, she falls into the much older category. She does wear clothing for size 6-year-old. So I'm going to continue on to round number 4. We are always starting with an increase into that first stitch. 1. Add my stitch marker, and another one. Now into the next 2 stitches, I'm going to do a double crochet into each one of those. 1, and here's into the next one. After that comes another increase, and into the next 2 stitches I will do a double crochet into each. So if you notice, the pattern is 1 increase and then 2 double crochets, and as your circle expands, the double crochet stitches between the increases go up by 1. If you're doing the next round, you will have 3 double crochet stitches in between the increases. And then if you go up one more round, you will have 4 double crochet stitches in between the increases until you have reached the diameter for your crown. So go ahead and finish. You will have 40 double crochet stitches at the end of this round number 4. End of round number 4, you want to measure and see if this is the size that you need. If you do end your rounds here, then definitely make a slip stitch as usual. And if you're continuing, then also make a slip stitch. And we chain 3 again. So take out your stitch marker. This is round number 5. 1 increase into that first stitch. Okay, there's my increase. Continue with 3 double crochets into the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. I'm not going to show you the next couple of rounds. I will continue until I reach the diameter that I need. And I did want to mention that obviously for round 5, you will have 50 double crochet stitches at the end of that round. And if you keep going and you're doing round 6, then you will have 60 double crochet stitches at the end of that round. After 7 rounds, I am done with my crown. So this is the size that I need. And it is about 7 inches in diameter. So like I said, my little one is only 3, but I have to do a bigger size for her. However many rounds you had and you did your crown, you closed off with a slip stitch. We are now moving on to the body of the beanie. This will be the same for everybody, for every size. And whatever round that you finished off, you did your slip stitch, and now we are only going to chain 2. So not 3 anymore, only 2. Let's take out our stitch marker. As you can see, here are 2 chains and they run down right here. And then we have these posts all around. We are going to work between these posts for the body of the beanie. Now the way we do that is this part is facing you. So this is the front, okay? And this will be the back of your work. We will be working the first stitch in front of our work. So we will go around this post. And then in the next one, we will work behind our work. So we will go around the post like that. So we're kind of we're doing this. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I'm going to try to show you the first couple of stitches like this close up so you get an idea. So here's that first post. You're going to yarn over, insert your hook, so you're in front of your work. This is the front. So you're going to insert your hook in there and go around that post, yarn over, pull through, and then finish off that double crochet as usual. And this is where you're going to add your stitch marker. So that was our first stitch. Now for the next stitch, you're going to yarn over again, but this time you're going to go behind your work, insert your hook in here into this next space, go around the post, yarn over, pull up that loop carefully, and then finish your double crochet as usual. Let me show it to you once again. You yarn over, this time in front of your work. Here's that next space. Go around the post, yarn over, pull through, and finish that double crochet. And one more, yarn over, behind your work, into this next space, around the post, yarn over, pull up that loop, yarn over, pull through the first two, yarn over, pull through the last two. That is what it's going to look like. And I know you have those increases, so you have to make sure that you go in between each post, okay? So they don't count as one. Each one of those stitches is considered an individual one in this round. In front of our work, behind our work, in front, and this is where I'm reaching that increase, so you can see this time we are working behind. So there's one, and then the next one is in front of our work. So make sure when you go around that you go in front and behind, and you will see in the pattern if you did it correctly. You have to have the same number of stitches as you had in your last round of that crown. Now I do want to show you, when you're done with your rounds while you're doing the body of the beanie, it is easy to confuse if you still have to work into this post here at the end. So for example, this stitch belongs to this post right here. And if you look closely, before the stitch marker, this was that chain that we made, the chain of 2 that belongs with this chain. So we do not work into the chains. Okay? So your next stitch would be here, not here. Let me show you. So I've gotten to this spot, leave this as it is, slip stitch into the stitch with the stitch marker, like so, chain 2, let's take off that stitch marker. This is that next round, and you see these spaces, right? Okay, we are not working into this first space. You need to come down here and work around the post here. So like I said, not here, not in these small spaces. You need to work around the whole post. Just make sure you go into the correct place. So you yarn over, insert into the space. So in front of your work, you're going to start the same way. In front of your work, around the post, finish your double crochet as usual. I'm going to insert my stitch marker. Now the back one. Yarn over, behind your work, into this space, around the post, and do your double crochet as usual. Now that you know how this works, so the body of the hat, now you know how to connect at the end of the row, and you know not to work into the chains. You need to continue making as many rounds of this until you reach. So let me show it to you on this one. So for example, if my crown had a diameter of 7 inches, then the height from here to here, so almost before I get to the next yarn, is also 7 inches. That is where you stop for the body of the hat, because then comes this border. Right? So I am going to continue with as many rounds as I need of this front, back, front, back. Every round is the same, and I will meet you once you get to the border of the beanie. Did I say hat or beanie? I can't remember. I'm constantly switching it up. I have reached the height that I need for the body of the beanie. Now we are going to do the border. I closed off the round with a slip stitch, so you can see my stitch marker is still here. Now I am going to cut off this yarn because we're going to switch yarns. And I am going to pull this yarn through this loop that was on my hook to tighten that, like so. Get your other yarn, the second yarn that you're going to be using, and you have two options. So either you just form a little loop like this with your hands and hold it tight to pull it through, or you can make a little slip knot. Just do it with my hands like so, and then you just pull this through. Okay, but I'm going to show it to you as if you didn't have a slip knot, just like this. Make sure you remember where you have your stitch marker. So I'm going to take it out. I'm going to insert my hook into that space, grab the new yarn, put it over my hook, pull it through. Now hold on to it and grab the incoming yarn and chain 1. And into that same stitch, you're going to single crochet your first stitch. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2 loops. Now you can add your stitch marker here, and you can run this yarn through, or you can run it along so you don't have to thread it in later. Actually, I should do that. Let me take this out again. I have chain right there. I'm going to grab this yarn to run along. Going to insert in there and do my first single crochet. Okay, now we move on to the next stitch right there. Insert your hook, run these 2 loose ends along, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Once again, into the next stitch, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So there are my first couple of single crochet stitches, and we are going to go all the way around until you come back to the stitch marker. Now after this first round of single crochet stitches, you should still have the same amount of stitches as your other round. So I have 70 right here, but obviously if your crown was 50, then you have 50, and so on. After the first round, we will join once again with a slip stitch into this stitch with the stitch marker. So you go through here, make the slip stitch, and then you chain 1. Now you take off your stitch marker and you will do your first single crochet into that same stitch. Add your stitch marker, And that is how you will join every round of the single crochet stitches. For this size, I'm going to make 5 rows of the single crochet stitches. You definitely want to have at least 3 of them. If you want the beanie to be shorter, obviously you can do more than 5 if you want it to be longer. But you definitely should have at least 3 rounds of single crochet stitches. I have now finished my 5 rows of the single crochet, and I ended with a slip stitch. Now we can cut off this yarn as well. Then yarn over and pull it through this loop. Okay, pull tight. Instead of continuing to crochet this way, the way we've been going around, you're going to turn your beanie like this. To get that pretty detail, we have to crochet looking at it from the front. This is where we closed off that row. We need to start our first stitch in here. So let me close that up. This is where we closed off, and we will insert our hook into this first stitch. Now grab the other yarn, make a little loop, and we're going to insert that yarn through that stitch, drop that loose end, and chain 1. Now I'm going to be running along these loose ends once again, so I don't have to thread them in later, into the stitch that you just work that chain into. That is where you will do your first single crochet once again. So insert your hook, remember the yarns, these loose ends, then yarn over and do that single crochet. Can add your stitch marker if you like. Into the next stitch, you will work another single crochet. Okay, this is the part where it gets tricky. So we did 1 and 2 single crochets. I'm going to leave this yarn in here so you can see it, and then I'll pull it out. So the best way to remember is that you're working from this single crochet stitch, you're working down, so go down 1, then you go over and down for this second one, and then you go over and up for this third one. And then your last one will be into this stitch right here. So you just continue on from here into that next stitch. All right, let's try it so you can see it. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, go over here, insert your hook, yarn over, and pull up a loop, and then you go up and to the side. So insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and now I go in here into that next stitch. Where is it? There. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 5 loops. I'm going to take these out. Now into the next 4 stitches, we need to do 4 single crochets. Now if you are using this stitch for a different project, all you have to consider is that it is in multiples of 5. Now since all the beanies any size that you're making is in multiples of 10. That's why it works on all of them. So let me show it to you once again. Here's that last single crochet. You're going to go down one, work in here, then over and down, work in here, then over and up, work in here, and then back into this stitch. Let's do it one more time. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, then over and down, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, then over and up. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then back into this stitch next to that last single crochet that you did. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 5 loops. Once again, you go into the next 4 stitches and do 4 single crochets. You go down, down 1, then over and down, then over and up, and back to this one. I'm going to cut off these little ones, these loose ends. Don't need them anymore. And now we just continue until you get to the end of your beanie. After my last little detail, I still have 2 stitches left. 2, there you go. Remember, we started with 2 and these are the other 2, so 4 in between this detail. And I will finish with a slip stitch where my stitch marker is. Cut off your yarn, yarn over, pull it through that loop, take your yarn needle, through the inside, you would just go back and forth, back again, and I will make one last knot. Cut off that yarn, and that is it. You are done. Now you have this beautiful beanie. Isn't it pretty? All right, well, I hope you enjoyed making this. Thank you for being here. You can always follow me on Instagram and tag me with your work. You know I love to see what you're making. And until next time, this is Humblehus. Bye.